So what was the process like getting into TV and working for Bad Robot? Like, what was that like?
I've had this question before because it's funny when people are like, so how did you get to work to Bad Robot? And I was like, if I tell you how I got to Bad Robot, you're going to laugh at me because it's just not any way that. I'll give you the quick sort of short version. So like I said, I went to art school and then realized that wasn't going to work. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to go to film school. So I went to Chapman in Orange County. It was like a late junior transfer, and it was really fun. I did pretty well there. I had shorts at Sundance and Cannes that I made.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was in the same year. It was really crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I got lucky. And I got to go to both places, which was even better. Because have you been to Sundance?
I've not been to Sundance.
Oh,
I've been
go
to
to
Cannes,
Sundance.
but I haven't been to.
It is the most. It's like the best thing about Sundance is that you go, and if you're a filmmaker, it's amazing because everybody kind of looks at you like, oh my god, it's like this. It's the one moment where you're like, I kind of feel like a big deal. You know, like I think I had a job at the time, and I was like, I'm not going back to that job. Terrible decision. But what was cool about the whole process was like you go there and like every movie is just a poster. Like yours. It's like, I don't know what that movie's about without seeing a trailer. And that makes your expectations for every film at like this bottom level.
Yeah.
Like I saw Brick there with no concept of what it was. And I was like, we saw it at midnight screening. Ryan Johnson walks out, tells us all about it. And we're like, this should be fun. It's a noir about high school. And like, it was amazing. And like, Taika Waititi had a short film there that no one knew about. Like, it was like, it's this incredible thing where like almost Carrie, the guy's doing the new Bond movie, Carrie, I don't want to mess up his last name. Like, he had a short film that we saw. Like, I didn't know anything about them. So it's like this great thing of like your expectation. It's like finding all these it's like
finding these gems hidden.
Trailers ruin movies in my opinion, and going to see all of them with just posters is so much fun. Anyways, I digress. I apologize. So I did really well there, and then I was like, okay, so I interned for a little while, and I ended up working at like Silver Pictures for a little while, and I worked for David Zucker for a little while. And at some point, I was just like, I was just sort of like laterally moving from assistant job to assistant job. So I was like, all right, I want to try and write. I was writing, but like slow writing, because when you're in your 20s, you're like, oh, I have all the time in the world. I can play video games. Like I played 17 seasons of Madden while I was trying to write one script. But I was like, okay, I was like, I'm going to go be a barback. I was going to go spend time and write, right? And the day I left, there was a woman who worked in the office who was like, hey, like, I heard you're leaving this company. She's like, I don't know what you're going to do next, but I have two kids. They're like 12 and 10. And I need a nanny. Would you be interested in nannying during the day? And then, you'll have your nights to write and all stuff. And I was like, all right, that sounds like fun. So I did that for 3 years. And those kids are now both AAA baseball players, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. I taught them everything I know.
Way to go.
Yeah, one's going to the pros next year, knock on wood. So, like, in that time, she left that company and she became the head of television at Bad Robot. So she knew I wanted to be a writer, and by that, literally, I got to the point where I couldn't drive them around anymore because they were too old. He was like, "I'm 16, man.
I can drive myself."
Yeah, I have girls I want to drive around. I'm like, "No, you don't need your license. It's okay." So she was like, "Are you interested in being an intern?" Like, she's like, I was pretty old at the point. I was like older. I was like 4 or 5 years older than all the other intern people there, which was actually ended up being a bonus. But I got in at Bad Robot. I interned there, and within 6 months of that, JJ hired me as assistant. So. So I was there for like, Super 8 and Star Trek Into Darkness and just sort of worked on his desk. And it was a pretty crazy place to be because, you got like on the one side of me, there's like 5 TV shows. I think we had 5 TV shows on the air at that point. And the other side of me, I say sides because my desk was like in the middle of the office. So I just go, the right side was TV and the left side was film. Like they're doing Mission Impossible. And
wow.
Like I read like 12 drafts of Mission Impossible. What's the one with the building? I'm blanking on the name.
The fourth one?
Yeah.
It's not Rogue Nation,
the one before that.
Man, that one.
Ghost Protocol.
Yeah. There we go.
Because we kept saying GoPro.
Yeah.
Sorry, GoPro. So I had so it was just a great place to learn film because there's like everything, and it was like, and a lot of the guys like JD Dillard who did Slate last year, like he was a receptionist, so he's my buddy.
Wow.
So like it was just a great place to be, anyways. So basically that was where I learned like being around that much television was like I want to do TV. Like that's where writers can kind of be in control. I think in features it's still a director's medium, so you're sort of disposable. But so I did that, and I was like, I want to do TV. So I started working on TV stuff and started writing scripts, and then eventually got to work on Revolution on NBC as an assistant. So I did that for a year, and then I got to write an episode of that. and because I did a good job and broke the up and down arrows on my computer from typing so many notes. I did 30 pages of notes a day.
Wow.
At least. For 2 years. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So were you
I have injuries.
So wait, I want to stop
No,
there
it's
for
fine.
1 second. Okay, so you're there, you're in the writer's room, and you're taking 30 pages of note. Are you writing down everything they're saying, or are they telling you, like,
You
the
learn.
scripts?
So, like, when you first start, I did, like, a transcript of stuff.
Okay.
Which was stupid because you can't write that fast, and it doesn't all matter. Because
Yeah.
there's times when you're like, okay, that's not going to land, that's going to land. As you go, so you're just in the back of the room, and there's, like, 12 writers, and they have whiteboards all around the room, right? And you sort of sit in the back and you just type up what people say. And and it used to be you would type in like the name of the people, but then you slowly realize you don't want to do that.
Because then they'll be like, oh, I didn't like this person's idea because it's their
Exactly.
person.
You
It's
start to
not my
realize-
idea. It's their idea.
It starts to feel like favoritism when it's
Yeah.
not. It's just like some ideas land. You can tell, like someone pitched something and then the showrunner will go, or. And so you kind of learn sort of what lands and what doesn't and what you need to get and what you don't. Like you don't need to get the verbatim what they say. You just have to get what the pitch is,
Yeah.
right? So you start to get really good by like the second year. I think it's why a lot of writers just get really frustrated by like the second year. They don't want to do it anymore. It's because you feel slightly superfluous. So like, I get it. Like I'm doing this. I'm just sort of, and you start to think you know the show better than the showrunner does. And sometimes you do. No, you don't. But like, so it's like that. So it's like being in the back and I will say this, the best part was I was a staff writer on the show Chance for Hulu at the same time that I got Go-Go. So the first season of that show, I was still a writer assistant. So it's hard because as a writer assistant, you just sit there and you don't say much. You say, you try once in a while if you have an idea or a question, or if the showrunner's out of the room and it feels like a smaller, like you can chime in a little bit more. But you just write other people's words all day. And so what was really nice about having Power Rangers was like I could do that all day and be frustrated with the idea of wanting to write, and then I would go into my office and I would just write my stuff, and I would take little things that you learn and little approaches, because that's the one thing about being in a writer's room that's really cool is that you get to watch other writers break story, and you get to start to see how they approach breaking stories, like the questions they ask, the ways that they go in and how they suggesting, like there's this really great writer on Chance named Peter Elkoff who's been writing forever, and he's fantastic, and he has all these really great little tricks as like different approaches. He's like, okay, let's like just. He, like the feel of a story and like the energy behind it, and he would just say crazy stuff every once in a while just to see if it sparked an idea.
Yeah. And
like that's stuff that I started doing in Go-Go, so like it helps your comics anyways. But it's funny because like when we've been working on like Power Rangers, we did Shattered Grid together. Like that was very similar to a writer's room. It was me and Kyle and Daphne and I think Mike was in the room, or Alex was in the room, and then Bryce was in there every once in a while. And that's when it works kind of the same way, where everybody just sort of sits around and we go, well, I kind of want to do this, and I kind of want to do this, and yeah. So like it's very similar in regards. I think that's why you're starting to see movies start to take on sort of that writer's room mentality, because it's just it's so much more fun to work with some other person than it is to sit in your room by yourself and just type.